What is going on, everybody? Welcome on in to Bleacher Report Live. How about it, fellas? How about it? We got ourselves champions. Oh, the National League East champions. What a world. I was, how old? 2011 was 13 years ago. I'm 29. Does that mean I was 16? No. Wait, how many years has it been? 2011? 13 years? I don't know. I'm not a math guy. I'm a baseball guy. And here's reality. My baseball team is sensational. This team's ready to go on a run again. We are about to obliterate the baseball and get Red October popping in South Philadelphia. And if you live under a rock, let me explain something to you. There is nothing better in all of sports than Red October at Citizens Bank Park. The place is absurd. The place is electric. And this town, whenever it is fall, and whenever we do get playoff baseball, which now we are accustomed to year after year after year, thank the Lord. But it is almost as if we run on zero energy. We run on a bunch of Wawa coffee, a ton of Budweiser, a bunch of vodka, tequila's getting snorted, and we go on about a 1 month run of embracing this baseball team. And the fact that we are just a little bit a ways away puts a big smile on my face. So what we are going to do on this fine program is run through a couple of predictions. I have 5. Some are bold, some are not so bold. I'll start with a very simple one. And before we do that, real quickly, I did just incorporate a poll here on the Bleacher Report poll. And the question is, are you afraid of a potential bye before the NLDS? That's technically not statistically wrapped up. I'm not going to cry about getting time off and escaping having to play a 3-game set because everyone wants to talk about how your rhythm could get screwed up and all this time off is so bad. You can lose the first series. You can actually fall and then not even get a chance to play in the NLDS. Let's not forget about that. I want everyone to be able to regroup physically after this 162-game journey. And we'll go from there. I'm not trying to play around with playing in a series that you don't need to. But anyway, we'll go to those results maybe halfway through the show. Let's start off with number 1 here. The Philadelphia Phillies will represent the National League in the World Series. They know what it's like to play at this time of the year. It's different. The intensity is real. The moment is added pressure. Every pitch, every detail, every single moment is so emphasized. And it is important to know what that overwhelming feeling is like. It could take you out of your element. It can make you uncomfortable. It can make you start doing things that are uncharacteristic. But when Zach Wheeler gets the ball, when Aaron Nola, the clincher, some would say, gets the ball, and we go through all the incredible moments, from Bryce, from Kyle. They've been there. They've been battle tested. They had to go on the road and grind one out against St. Louis before eventually making the World Series back in 2022. And it's not everyone that's still here. Gene Segura was on that team. And keep in mind, Rhys Hoskins had the bat spike. And now he'll be playing with Milwaukee, with the Brewers, and he's battle tested too. So I acknowledge that there are other teams that have that same information on what it's like. But sometimes there's a group of polished pros, of polished veterans that keep cracking at the door Or knocking at the door, I guess, trying to crack it down. Whatever. You get my point. And it smells like that's where this core group is. I can't wait. They are deep this go around. I actually feel confident if they have to get a little weird, a little strange, and rely on, I don't know, let's say a Cody Clemens at bat. It wasn't too long ago we had to deal with the nonsense of we can't pinch hit for Johan Rojas because let's be honest, Jay Cave and Garrett Stubbs or just anybody in general. Not that I'm putting Garrett Stubbs in there, but now I feel that there are real legitimate options and serious people who can at least give you a real fighter's chance in a limited role. I feel good about the role players. And I also acknowledge that it's more about Bryce, more about Trey, more about Kyle, more about Nick, more about Wheeler, more about Nola than it is Cody Clemens and Mundo Sosa or anybody of that nature. Even Johan Rojas, and we'll expand on that in a little bit longer. They are important, though. They are. The Boston Red Sox won because of Steve Pearce. You never know. I like this team's chances with that. I like this team's chances that they have a reliable pen. Matt Strahm, Jeff Hoffman, they get the ball. Sign me up. The Estevez thing, a little shaky, but I still think he has what it takes to get big outs. And here's one huge piece to the puzzle. And probably one of the biggest reasons why the NL East wasn't a more intense competition. Outside of Ranger Suarez, it seems as if everybody is healthy enough. No one's 100% at this time of the year, but you can still get a ton of dominance from all of these men that may be locked in at about 80% right now due to the wear and tear of the grind. Ranger looks very out of the norm. And I'm looking at it as a Zach Wheeler, Aaron Nola, Christopher Sanchez 1, 2, 3. We'll cross that bridge after that once we get there. But the Ranger stuff is super concerning. Outside of Ranger, all right, the Austin Hayes acquisition at the deadline, he kind of is what he is. Quite frankly, I don't have much faith in him in general. I'm fascinated to see how this playoff roster gets locked and loaded. But I just know that he's someone who hasn't been able to lace them up and put on the Phillies uniform as much as we would like or as much as Dave Dombrowski probably assumed at the time of the deadline in bringing him in. But he's not what they said he was, and they being Rob Thompson. Rob Thompson's making it out to be that this was an impact player at the deadline, and he could be your everyday left fielder, and that's just not what he is. And it has nothing to do with him not being available, even when he was healthy. That's not who he is. By the end, before he had to miss a significant amount of time, he was batting ninth. The job of Dombrowski at the deadline was not to pick up a 9-hole hitter, it's to pick up a right-handed bat that could probably hit in the meat and potatoes of your order. But we got consistency from Nick, and that helped out, and all that stuff. So my point is, with health, the Ranger and Hayes stuff is thrown up into the air. But if that's where you are at the end of the season, based off of anything else that can happen with your guys, it's pretty good. It's pretty good. I'll take that any day of the week. So to summarize on my first prediction here, they will represent the NL in the World Series due to being battle-tested, knowing the moments, health, depth, reliable pen, and their first 3 starters. Okay, let's get to number 2. And that is Nick Castellanos will be your most consistent hitter in the playoffs. I cannot believe I'm saying that. It's actually insane to me. He has shown you all season long, though, that he can put it together. He's no joke. And the weird thing is about him, you can go look at numbers, hitting 250 on the year, looking at some of the months, hitting 250, hitting 260, hitting 270. Nothing overwhelms you on paper. And this is a sport where you traditionally look at batting averages, OPS, all this stuff. I'm not saying there's nothing that shows you his good signs, but it just doesn't tell you the same story as if you were to watch day in and day out. And it is completely different from absorbing it in the moment. This guy has been a crazy solid leader all around. He's been getting doubles. He's been getting home runs for you, singles, poking it the other way, not trying to do too much. I mean, I remember there were times where my eyes would bleed consistently because the only thing I could see every at-bat was swinging at garbage that was off speed and way off the outside part of the plate. His approach to the plate feels smoother, feels better. And I remember when it was about maybe early August, so almost 2 months ago now. It's crazy. The season went forever, yet it happened with the blink of an eye at the same exact time. I remember seeing a stat that said something along the lines, and I'm just paraphrasing a little bit, but it shows you exactly the length of time that he's been on top of his A game. It was from maybe the first month of the season through August. Dude's hitting at a crazy 300 clip. His OBP was insane. His OPS was through the roof. He started out so bad. And we have a chat member here in the chat. His name is Castellanos Sucks 8. And of course is chiming in on how Castellanos is so inconsistent, and that's the only consistent thing about him. You haven't paid attention to Nick Castellanos. Now, normally, I would agree that Nick is all out of whack. And it's not impossible to watch this offense go poof and evaporate like we've seen with the very hot and cold build of the roster. So it doesn't automatically mean that his regular season success definitely correlates to postseason success, but he did it forever. And he's not Johan Rojas, where he had a good regular season his rookie year, thrown into the fire, and then got overwhelmed in his first year of playoff action. Nick's been around this game a long time, and I actually think his mentality has played a huge role in who this team has become. It's a little weird, a little strange, a little different, cocky. His answers with the media are always goofy, but he's him. And when you go through those lows, as the Phillies did after they got off to a really hot start to the year, his attitude and his swag of I'm just going to go up to the plate, not worry too much about my approach, this and that, I think it absolutely resonated with everybody else, and there's something about that. And then when you see him tear the cover off the ball, as great as he does, it matters that he was the one that was cool, calm, collected about the struggles. And now his buttons are undone. He's got 3 buttons undone. He's running around first base, sliding into second with all that swag. It matters. When you talk a certain game, when the things are bad, and then when you help somewhat dig yourself out of this hole as a team, and you're the one doing it after already making certain statements, it hits harder. So I really got to give Castellanos a big round of applause for the regular season, and I project that he's going to have the same type of postseason as well. All right, let's get to number 3. Speaking of Johan Rojas, I do have faith that Johan Rojas will have a bounce-back playoff. Now, let me be very clear. This does not mean he's going to rake. This does not mean he's going to be a juggernaut. I think he could play a really solid role, though, and not be a massive, insane zero that is an automatic strikeout and an automatic out. So maybe he needs to lay a bunt down. Maybe he has to beat out an infield single dribbler because that's as far as he can hit it. But then he gets on first and you can take access or take access. No, that's not the right phrase here, but you could take advantage of what his skill set is and use his speed to get on second. And then with a blink of an eye, you have a runner in scoring position. Every base matters. Every base. So while his 0.93 in the playoffs last year was following a very solid regular season, he's more experienced. He's more comfortable. And I'm just asking him to be a little bit below average, honestly. I'm not even asking him to be average. It's not going to be average. He's not an average type of hitter. Can you be below average? Last year, he was vomit. He was trash. He was unplayable offensively. Can he be below average? That's the question I ask. They love his defense. You see the way that he plays against the Cubs. And it's not just the Cubs, but it was the most recent game where they solidified the NL East crown. He makes plays out in center field that not many people make. I don't think that Hayes is going to be a part of it as much as the chat seems to be a part of it. I think Marsh and Rojas are the two over Hayes and anybody else. Now, granted, they're going to play the matchup games and maybe Marsh sits and Rojas. I don't know how they're going to do it yet. I don't have a feel on it yet. So maybe I should maybe tamper it a bit in regards to the Rojas stuff. But I know they love Rojas. I know they love his defense. They are obsessed with his defense. And they feel it is significantly better than Marsh out in center and significantly better than any outfielder they have. My guess is they try and slot him in as much as humanly possible. And this year with runners in scoring position, my man is hitting .313. Now, once again, 1 year ago, we watched him hit well in the regular season and it not translate. But I do think it's very important to note that he has a whole nother season under his belt. He's got more data. He's got more knowledge of what it's like, the speed of Major League Baseball, seeing the postseason, then seeing the regular season again, knowing what those postseason at-bats are like. So number 3 for me is we get a bounce-back playoff from Johan Rojas. All right, number 4. This one's kind of bold because we don't know if the scenario is ever going to play out. But Bryce Harper will have a postseason grand slam in 2024. Now, I don't know if it's going to necessarily be the grand slam. That's just my bold prediction part of it. He's definitely going to have a moment, though. Back in 2022, Game 5 versus the Padres in the 8th. My man late in the game on the line, has the swing of his life. And I remember dropping to my knees in my basement, screaming at the top of my lungs. And my wife isn't a huge diehard sports fan. She likes sports because I like sports and it's what I do. But when the Phillies are on, we watch it in the playoffs together. And she went upstairs for a half a second. I don't know why she decided to go upstairs then. I don't really remember the circumstances on why, but she does. And all she hears is me at the top of my lungs going, ow, ow. And she's like, what did I miss? And I'm like, ow. Bryce, swing of his life against the Padres. We've seen so many moments. I'm just going to add another one to the mix and potentially hope that one's a grand slam. So that was the 2022-23 NLDS Game 1. Big homer. 2023 in the NLDS Game 3. You got the stare. Do we have to talk about the stare downs against the Braves? I mean, you're talking about iconic photographs and iconic stare downs where we talk about Allen Iverson's step over. You know what I'm saying? A step over Ty Lue. We got some of these moments in Bryce Harper, too. 23, game 5. My man hits a 444-foot bomb versus Arizona. I hate rethinking about those games against Arizona because how it all flopped in 6 and 7 at home. But I just laid out to you within 5 seconds multiple different whoa spots from Bryce. Let's add another one in this series, or in this playoff run. Excuse me. Don't know what series it'll be, but we're going to get one. All right, and number 5, another bold one here. Zach Wheeler will not record a loss all postseason long. This guy's a horse, okay? A horse. 16 wins on the year right now. A 2.56 ERA. And if you just want to look at some of his postseason games, 7 innings pitched, 1 earned run, 8 strikeouts. 6 2/3, 1 earned run, 8 strikeouts. 7 innings pitched of shutout ball. 6 1/3 innings pitched of shutout ball. 6 1/3 innings pitched of 2 earned runs, but struck out double digit. We're talking 10 Ks. 6 innings pitched, 2 earned runs, 8 Ks. I mean, this is no joke. Plus, you factor in the bullpen as well. If he does happen to go into the 7th, allow 2 earned runs with this offense in the way that they should be able to rip the cover off the ball, and with this bullpen, boom. Boom. I'm all in on it. I'm all in on it. So those are my 5 predictions. I see the chat once again discussing some interesting topics. And this one is about Christopher Sanchez getting the number 2 spot in the rotation because of how well he pitches at home. I don't like that. I want to just stick to the standard. Aaron Nola was paid the money to come back here and be a number 2. All he's done since those 2 little rough goes in September has been insanity. He's clinched another spot for this team to make the playoffs. I don't want to get too cute and overthink things. I mean, no. A number 2 starter behind Zach Wheeler is a big role. And as great as Christopher Sanchez has been this season, I'm not ready to strip Aaron Nola of that because Christopher Sanchez pitches well at home. You're overthinking it. And I've heard the debate, and hell, I've even taken the debate on the radio about 1 week ago. And I stand pretty firm on this. You're trying to do too much. Wheeler, Nola, Sanchez. We'll go from there. And we'll wrap up this show by giving you an update on our poll. Are you afraid of the potential bye before the NLDS? Yes is at 40%. No is at 60%. My answer, of course, is no. I use this example all the time. So if you heard me on other platforms, here you go again. The Dodgers have won 100 games every year. They don't win the World Series, right? This playoff format's new. They were struggling to win the World Series and get to the World Series prior to the new format. So I don't know if it's a format problem or the Dodgers just haven't been able to get over the hump. Same applies to the Braves. The Braves have struggled to win a World Series with all their NL East divisions outside of the one that they did win. But I'm saying they won the division a lot prior to that. They've been a threat a lot prior to that. They weren't winning prior to the new format either with all their sustained success. For whatever that's worth. And the Astros beat you when they had a bye. If you're the team, you're the team. If you're great, you're great. Time off shouldn't be the difference. And you winning that trophy and getting John Middleton's trophy back. For whatever it's worth. All right, everybody, that's going to do it. Thank you all so much for hanging out with me here today on Bleacher Report. Had a ton of fun, as we always do. Can't thank you enough. We'll be back tomorrow because we have our midweek Eagles topic to throw around, and boy, is that going to be a doozy. All right, I'm not happy about the football team. Happy about the baseball team, though. So I'll talk to you all tomorrow. Have a great rest of your day, everybody, and thank you for hanging out.